Good morning, Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome to the Pregame Cheat Sheet. I'm Darren Smith, along with Steve Walsh. We want to wish everyone a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. We want to thank you so much for joining us today. We are live inside of the Arrowhead press box, where the Chiefs will be hosting the Seattle Seahawks in just a little under 45 minutes. Steve, first of all, Merry Christmas to you and the
Same to
family.
you. Thank you.
What's your thoughts on today's game? Chiefs, of course, they clinched the AFC West last week. So now they're trying to play for a position. They're seeded number 2, looking for a Buffalo loss over the next 3 weeks while they try to win out. Seattle seeded number 8 on the top 7 get into the playoffs. They need today's win after coming off their loss last week. What are you expecting in today's game?
Well, first of all, I'm expecting it to be cold. That's
It's definitely that.
first and foremost. But I think, look, the Chiefs haven't been home. What, they were on a three-game road trip,
Yeah.
right? And so
Has it been that long?
It's been about 4 weeks since
Yeah.
we've been here, man. And so I think today is other than it being cold out there, I think they're going to try to heat up some things on the field as far as just getting back to what their game plan that they're used to doing. Because looking at the past 3 games. I just feel like they played down to their competition,
Yeah.
and you don't want to have that lingering over your head when you're going into the playoffs.
This game, the Chiefs lead the all-time series 33-19. For a lot of the younger viewers out there, Seattle used to be in the AFC West before they realigned the configuration. So they used to be where they played each other twice a season. But the last time these two teams played here, the Seahawks actually beat Kansas City 38-31. This was back in 2018, and before then, Kansas City beat Seattle 24-20 back in 2014. So look, coming into this game, of course, they're led by Super Bowl winning coach and Pete Carroll, but this is a totally different team than what we would have been expecting any other year. They traded Russell Wilson into to the Denver Broncos in the offseason. They in that trade they got your guy Drew Luck. They also got Geno Smith, and so Geno, has been their quarterback. He's played well. He's led them to a 7. I think a 7-7 record at the moment. And so, your thoughts on what we're seeing from Geno leading this offense. That also features a rookie running back in Kenneth Walker III.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's doing what you asked him to do. I mean, look, they're 7-7. They're at 500. They're not gonna. Look, they're not going to jump off the paper at you. I mean, when you get rid of a former Super Bowl winning quarterback, you're looking at it being a rebuild mode. And that being said, I think anything is plenty when you look at what's happening with this season. Like I said, they're 7-7, and it's this season. I mean, it's not going by the wayside. I think they're making do with what they have. Because when we talked about, Drew Lock, Geno Smith, they didn't know at the beginning of the season of who they were going to have. I thought it was going to be Drew Lock, and a lot of people did, but Geno came through, and I mean, look, he's been in the league 10 years. So I mean,
he's a veteran. I mean, and look, he started for different organizations.
Yeah, so he did.
He does have the experience over Drew.
But when you're looking at rebuilding, you don't want to have someone there that's a little long in the tooth, because where are you going to go from there?
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because when you stop and think about it, in the offseason, again, for what they got for Russell Wilson, I think they got a couple of first-round draft picks. So the way Geno was playing, that could actually throw a monkey wrench in what their plans are for the future, because he's played so well, and there were even some talk of him being in the MVP conversation maybe early on, not right now. But has he played, before we circle back to the Chiefs, do you think he's played himself into a long-term deal with that team and allowing them to use those draft picks, those high draft picks, for other position skill players?
Well, this is a game right here that would I think solidify him as a long-term starter.
Especially if he can beat the Chiefs.
If he can beat the Chiefs that are 2-game win streak. Good, not great defense, but they have a solid defense, especially against Steve Spagnuolo. So I think, especially if you're at 7-7 now, and if you go on a 3-game win streak or 2-game win streak, and you end up above 500, you get to 9-10 wins. I think then you're looking at something. Maybe get a wild card spot, berth in the playoffs. look, it's the sky's the limit. I think.
Chiefs are 11-3. Again, they come off winning 2 games in a row. The first game on the road, they lost to Cincinnati, but then they beat Denver in the late afternoon game. And then, of course, the Texans, they struggled in that game against the Texans, winning that game in overtime. A lot of concerns coming out of that game. Of course, one of the concerns that we talked about ad nauseum is the kicking game. There was some chatter this week
Hmm.
online with Dustin Colquitt, maybe calling out Tommy Townsend. We did get a chance to speak to Harrison Butker and James Winchester in the locker room. I'm just curious on your thoughts on how you feel that this team, especially with the special teams, has been looking. Because the biggest concern that I have is that not saying they should be cut him or anything like that, but it's got to get whatever's going on in his head or in his body physically has to get rectified before the start of the playoffs because you do not. I mean, we saw them going in overtime with the Houston Texans.
Hmm.
That's not going to fly against Cincinnati or Buffalo when the playoffs begin.
Yeah, I mean that's two different things there though, because you get Harrison Butker along with the hold. There was a problem when if you remember back when Tommy Townsend was first started holding for Harrison Butker. That was after Dustin Copeland left. There was some issue there, and Dave Tove, chief special teams coordinator, was just in the let's just wait and see. Let it. They need to develop some time together. But it seems like everything's coming right back around to well, the laces are going facing to the right, so he's missing right. The laces are facing to the left, so he's missing left. I mean,
Well,
depending
well,
on
before you go further, Tobe, to his credit, said it's not a matter of where the laces are, because if the laces go right, doesn't mean that the kick's going to go right. It's a
yeah,
matter of placement,
yeah.
ball placement versus, like if he has it, if he doesn't have it dead center to where he
Hmm.
can, do whatever he does, if it's more towards the right, more towards the left, that's where the angle of where the ball is going to go.
But they're placing blame on not Harrison Butker, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Harrison Butker should be able. I mean, that's a chip shot. No matter
Yeah.
where the laces, where the placement is,
No,
you
I
should be able
agree.
to put. You should an extra point. You should be able to put that through the uprights.
Bucker, to his credit, told me when I asked him, I said, man, why are you missing these kicks? I mean, and he did say whether it's laces in, out, towards, and whatever, he should still make that kick,
Yeah.
and especially an extra point. I mean, because he's missed, I read somewhere, he's missed 18 extra point kicks since 2018.
That's a lot of points.
A lot of points on the board now, and the he's missed. Because I was on Channel 5 this week. I think he's missed about, I think he's 5 out of 9 or 3 out of 9 from kicks 40 to 60 yards.
Hmm.
I think, well, I'm sorry, I think he's 5 out of 9. So he's a little over 50%, but he's missed a lot of kicks past 40 yards this season.
Yeah, I mean, and so the blame can't be placed on Tommy Townsend
Well,
and the
all the
way the
blame can't
ball.
be placed on him. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I, I think it's a collective. I will say I think it is a collective unit because again, if it is a hold issue, a position issue,
Hmm.
that could have something to do with it.
Yeah, and you know your guy. Like you know your guy. You know where you he wants it placed. You guys practice this. So
Yeah. And we were just notified by our good friend Neil Jones of Channel 5. The field is frozen. So look, so again, I don't know whether it's going to be a cleat issue, whether, because I did hear from some former players that when it's like that, they prefer to wear tennis shoes instead of cleats in this type of weather condition when the field is frozen like that. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how footing and how that's going to play a factor. Now, I do see, because we talked about this before, I do see some players, most of them are going to be offensive linemen without sleeves on. We see a few from the Seattle Seahawks. I think some of the
Travis
defenders as
Kelsey.
well. Yeah, so I do know I used to shoot on the field when you and I first met. I was shooting on the field for Dave Jordan's newspaper, and I used to like cold weather, but not windy. This is freezing.
Yeah.
I'm not built for that no more. So call us bougie. We're in the press box. That's just the way we like it. But going back to the Chiefs, Steve, they 11-3. They got a chance. If they have a 43% chance as of this moment right now of getting the number one seed. If they win today, it moves up to 48. Of course, we talked about how we hope Buffalo loses to Chicago, but I
Yeah.
think that the game is going to come down to next Monday night against the Cincinnati Bengals because they're on the uprise. I
Yeah.
mean, they took out actually both teams to beat Kansas City, so it's imperative on the Chiefs to win out. Hope that if Chicago doesn't pull the upset today, then you've got Cincinnati because that game is played in Cincinnati on
Yeah.
next week.
Yep.
They win that game. Chiefs went out. They become the number one seed. I think Cincinnati will be number two, and then Buffalo will be number three. So, how do you think that shakes out?
I mean, it's. I mean, it's a race to whoever finished out the season without having a loss. I think the Chiefs. I mean, you have to win out and let the chips fall, right?
Yeah.
Because it's crazy that you get to this point when all season they preach. And even I think probably the second latter half of the season, they start preaching. No, we don't. We want to take care of our own destiny, like be the front runner instead of where we are now, where we're having to depend on somebody else.
So I'm curious because I may have a little bone to pick with you because I remember early on in the season before after they lost to Buffalo, but
Uh-huh.
Buffalo lost again, and the Chiefs jumped over them to be the number one seed. You were kind of, I think you made the point that they prefer to be the hunter versus the hunted. I'm like,
Yeah,
nah, I'd rather be here first because now we see how they're playing to where they lost the game to Cincinnati,
yeah.
where they, now they're. But again, to me, if you're in a position of strength and you're in that top seed, your job is just to win out.
Look, I know plenty of folk that just put it in regular people terms that done got paid and their bellies is full, right?
What you trying
So
to say?
yeah, no, I'm just saying they bellies is full and so once you tasted that success, my point is once you tasted that success, it's like all right, what do I need it for?
To the
What
Chiefs'
do I need it?
credit, to the Chiefs' credit, they have gone into the playoffs. I think in the Mahomes era over the last four seasons. I think they've maybe been the number one seed maybe once. Yeah, I think maybe once.
Yeah.
I think that was the year they ran it back.
Yeah.
I think the other times they were like number two, and then by the time the game was played, they were the top seed left. So
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
that. I mean,
it can
that's just
still
why.
happen in
That's
that
just why
direction.
instead of being at the top of the totem pole, I'd like to, take the stairs and not the elevator, man. Because if you're a front runner, that
I'm
means
for the escalator.
everyone either way. I mean, it's a lot faster than taking, the elevator. But no, just the thing about it is if you went out and Buffalo, like I said, they're still in. They still have to play Chicago, which I mean anything can happen any given Sunday, right? They still have to play Cincinnati, and I think Buffalo will lose one of those games. However, it just puts a lot of pressure on the Chiefs. Like the more the pressure is on Buffalo right
Oh
now
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because they've been known to not do well going on in the latter half of their season.
This week, we've had seven Kansas City Chiefs players named to the Pro Bowl. Patrick Mahomes was named, I think, for his fourth or fifth straight season. Travis Kelsey, eight
Hmm.
years running. Chris Jones, 4 years in a row. They're also first time for Creed Humphreys in this second year. I believe Joe Tooney got in as well. Orlando Brown, back-to-back years with Kansas City, is in there.
Yeah, resume builder.
And it's funny, it's interesting because a lot of people are upset and questioning it, but it's like, one, the fans voted him in,
Hmm.
along with, the NFL and players and stuff. So,
Resume builder.
obviously that
You're
would
gonna have
help.
to come with the. You're gonna have to come with the money next year. If you, I mean, if you want to keep him, I think you can come probably with minimal, and because he likes Patrick, because he's still young, he
Here's
would
the thing.
probably take it.
He didn't have a problem with the contract. It was the number of years that was guaranteed.
Mm,
You can't guarantee 2 years out of a 6 year deal. It's just not happening.
right.
So, I mean, now if you want to front load it and put out of
Signing
120 some
bonus.
million, you put 80 million up front for the first year. Okay,
I
I
don't see
got
that
you.
happening.
But that's what I'm saying. So that's
Mm-mm.
the reason why, he would never go, and I don't blame him. So this is a rough league. Looking at this game, we've got the Chiefs again, 11-3. They do lead the league in scoring. They average around almost 30 points a ball game, but and Seattle gives up about 25 to 29 points a game as well. So that works in the Chiefs' favor now. Because of the weather conditions, again, we talk about the weather being frozen, things of that nature. We got, there could be a high scoring game, but this also could be another breakout game for a player like Isaiah Pacheco. I think he may have one or two touchdowns, but this could be a big game for him. Also, Jerick McKinnon. I don't know if Patrick gets 300 yards passing today. Though. That's just that's the that's the one concern I've been wondering about because of the field and how cold it is. I do think we see Patrick throw the ball on this because that's what Andy does. But I'm just not sure in this type of weather, in this type of cold environment, what these stats are going to look like for the players today.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still gonna be himself. I really do. I mean, he's trying to go for the MVP, regular season MVP now.
But
So
being itself means don't make those Mahomes
yeah,
because
yeah. But I mean, if you're battling yourself, so to speak, I mean, Jalen Hurts is hurt.
yeah, but here's the thing. There's a dark horse because guess who's tied with Jalen Hurts behind Patrick? Joe
Joe
Burrows.
Burrow,
Joe
yeah.
Burrows again. Joe Burrows can build his own resume because if Patrick stumbles these last three games,
Mhm.
throwing careless picks, and Burrows can actually win out, and that includes beating
I like that.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
Again, so that's why Patrick being himself. Well, we've had this conversation. It's not a problem with Patrick being himself, but it's just doing things that you don't have to do.
Right.
Because we saw he didn't have to. Someone's passing in Denver. He didn't have to do, and those three interceptions. I mean,
He wanted
that's
to,
on your resume.
he
But
wanted to break the game open. We knew what he was doing. He
I
just
mean, well, you already up 27-0.
yeah. Nah, they gonna put their foot on their neck. Look, you want conservative Andy Reid pre this or continuing like we going.
No, well, again, every game is its own, and you have to feel again. The Denver Broncos were not the Buffalo Bills or the Cincinnati Bengals that they faced in the playoffs. So it's a difference. You gotta be able to read the room.
Yeah.
You know that they've been struggling offensively. So and then the one thing that you want to try to do is establish running game because okay, you get to a game like this where it's going to be freezing.
Mhm.
You want to know that boom, we call these running plays. Stuff works. Okay, we see what can work in the
But
future.
they've been calling them, just not enough of them. I mean, we've got a lot of series where they have they have the ball and they're driving, you know, 12 plays, 12 plays, 78 yards, getting to the red zone, and then they can't score. So
Yeah, all right, Christian, let everybody know that the field is warm, so we appreciate that, Christian. It's still frozen, though. Um, Steve, on the defense side of football, Frank Clark had the only sack last week, but we had big plays coming from Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, who missed out on the Pro Bowl this year. Perhaps he'd be named as an alternate. Wish him all the best in that. Defensively, how does this team stop a DK Metcalf, stop a Kenneth Walker in today's game, especially with it being as cold as it is?
I mean, with DK Metcalf, I mean, he's fast, he's a strong receiver. It's gonna be tough. It really is, especially the way that the defensive backs have been playing. However, he's not going to do, I say this every week, he's not going to do anything that they haven't seen before.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I just feel like, man, I just feel like this Chiefs defense will be able to step up today. I do. I mean, you got Steve Spagnuolo who is coming in here, and I just don't see him continuing on the
Yeah,
same path that he was on.
one of the things that I brought up to Steve during the presser this week is that um, his defensive backs ranked dead last night. They've given up the most touchdowns to wide receivers this
Yeah.
year, and I'm curious. And how do you fix that? How do you clean that up? And I mean, one of the things he said, he was made aware of it, so he figured he would get the question. He was like,
Uh,
yeah, he figured you'd be the one to ask. Like, well, yeah, that's me.
yeah.
Um, but how do they clean it up? I mean, because again, they face all type of wide receivers this year, and I don't know if it's an issue where he's just stuck on them playing man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He's,
Doesn't want
he's,
to run
he's
his
the
own,
type,
but
I mean, and you can answer this, but to me, he's the type that,
he's stubborn.
yeah, that, and he's the type where either you're going to be able to do it or you're not. And no matter if it hurts the team or not,
Yeah, but see, that's and I asked Andy the day before.
Hmm.
Like I know, according to Eric Bieniemy, it's like 52-48 when it comes to the play calling, 52 um, EB, 48 Andy. But of course, Andy can always, as a head coach, supersede. So my thing is,
Yeah.
how much of that do you do when it comes to the defense? Because if your defense is getting torched left and right, are you stepping in at all?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To like try to change some stuff up so so
Not
you can
until too late in
adjust.
the ball game. We've seen it. We've seen it 3 times in a row. Not until it's too late in the ball game. But granted, I think those front four guys got to get after the quarterback because when he brings them, he brings them. But
Yeah.
then those guys just are able, with their talent, they're able to do same thing we do. The Chiefs do to Patrick Mahomes.
And this is a game where Geno's is not one of those runners like a Justin Fields or a Jack or Lamar Jackson. So the players can get after him. I'm thinking that this is a perfect game. Look, he's played for him for 4 years. This
Hmm.
this this should be a big game for Frank Clark to be able to get after Geno Smith and company, and obviously Chris Jones as well.
And it's Geno's first time playing Kansas City as a Seahawk, or no, first time playing at Arrowhead
Yeah.
Stadium. So, I mean, and I don't think it's gonna be, I don't think it's gonna be 80,000 fans in here today. Probably about 30,000, if that. But it should be still a good environment. Arrowhead is still a tough place to play.
Yeah, but 30,000 versus 80,000 this type of freezing weather. I don't know how much yelling they're gonna be doing right now.
Yeah, yeah,
That
I agree.
that's the other part. So, I mean, these are loud stadiums, and I guess I wish we could have been in Seattle instead
Yeah,
this weekend. Would have been nice, but other than that, what we're gonna do? Let's take a quick time, and when we come back, talk about the X factors in today's ball game, and then we'll pick our winners and get everybody set for today's
nice.
kickoff.
Football fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet and mild, mild and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.
All right, Darren Smith, Steve Walls. We're back here with the pregame cheat sheet. Kickoff is just a little under 20 minutes away here at Arrowhead. It is cold, freezing outside. If you're coming to the game, if you're watching us in the parking lot, please, 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 please make sure you're bundled up. Be warm. We're with you in spirit. Because physically we're in the press box and we're not coming out. We're not going to do a post-game show on the field. We'll probably do it from the press box
It
right here.
says it says 14 degrees on my phone, but I'm sure on the field it's much colder.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll get our game day pictures or suits or whatever up here because we're not going out on the field
I don't
at
know
all
about you, but
today.
I'm going down there. I'm going down there and get
First of all,
get my
hey,
crib a
hey,
picture.
first of all,
My
don't
crib.
don't let this don't let this man fool you.
My crib's a picture.
He was over crying about how he ain't built from that cough no more. But Steve, look at today's game. X factor for you for the Chiefs on offense. I know last week I forgot who we had last week on
Running game.
offense.
I
We
said
had
Isaiah
and,
Pacheco.
and I think I may have had Andy Reid on that one. But yeah, because off of what took place in Denver. But who's your X factor in today's ball game for the Chiefs for them to win?
Man, I, I'm gonna have to go with the wide receiving group. I think the wide receivers need to be able to get in some kind of rhythm with Pat. We haven't seen that in a while.
Well, and I do believe it is expected that McCole Hardman is coming back today. We didn't see him on the inactive list, so we do expect
But
him
of
back in
course, when
today's
they
game.
say he's back, he'll come in for a spurt,
2 or 3
and that'll
plays,
be it.
yeah. And and I mean, this is a game that unfortunately you don't really want to do too much
Yeah.
because
It's cold
it's
outside. You
cold.
trying to run around, man.
And next week it'll be 55 degrees.
Exactly. So you just got the wide receiver group. To me, you've got to develop. Even though you've got the chemistry there, I mean, we see spurts of it. However, you've got to make sure that going into the playoffs, because now, I mean, this is fine-tune time.
Yeah.
You're already in. So whether you starting at ground zero in the wild card, or you're in and have the bye and then play the second week, I think now you need to make sure that it's a well-oiled machine, and it hasn't been that the past couple weeks.
So for me, I'm gonna go with Mahomes, and the reason why I'm going because again, just what we talked about in the first segment is this is his time to shine. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked on the phone yesterday. I said Patrick has a chance to do something that I don't think anyone's ever done. He's got a chance if he plays cards right now. I don't know how the Walter Payton Man of the Year award is
Hmm.
voted on. I don't know how that's done, but he could put himself in a position where he wins the league MVP, Walter Payton Man of the Year, and Super Bowl MVP
Yeah.
again. But for the first one to happen, again, he's back in the lead after falling behind Justin, over the last couple of weeks due to his play,
Yeah.
not the team's play, but his play. Again, people talk about again. I harken back to the Denver game, and I'm like, well, he was already behind Jalen because of the loss to the Bengals. I said,
Right.
to me, he had further, he had kind of pulled even in the first half, but then he threw three interceptions, and that brought him back down. And to me, brought him below Jalen
Right.
even further because you put your team in a position where they could have lost that game.
I agree.
I think that this is one of those games again. The opportunity is there.
Hmm.
Jalen is going to be out this week and perhaps even next week, according to Adam Schefter. This is where you can build on. Jalen can't do anything more right now for now. So
Exactly.
this is a chance for you to build your resume now. Because of the cold weather, I think he can safely maintain his lead. Two touchdowns. Just throwing for two touchdowns. Unless if he does more, cool. But at least two touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, you just don't want to. You don't want to put any blemishes on your resume,
Right.
and you want to obviously make sure that the team wins. You get them out. You know what I'm saying? But don't. I know they talk about let Patrick be Patrick, but again, if we're looking at the big picture, Patrick can be Patrick, but we can't have Patrick just trying to do stuff in between his legs, behind his back, or whatever, through the hoops, over the grandmother's house we go, just to try to get a touchdown pass. When, bro, just hand it off, get the score. You know what I'm saying? Keep it
Yeah.
moving, get you another win.
Yeah.
And because
So you don't want him to do anything special.
you don't have to do it, he don't.
Basic, basic Patty.
No, here's the thing. He doesn't have to do anything special. He
The
just,
basic.
you know what? Sometimes basic is good, Steve.
Yeah.
Sometimes basic is good.
Oh, if you like
Because
Krispy Kreme donuts,
here's
that's
the thing.
basic enough for
Here's the
me.
thing. Basic Patrick with the win is still a win, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
well, it's still a win, right?
that's not gonna win very many games.
But if it's a win,
I take it.
okay.
Yeah,
And so
but it's not gonna win you very many games.
so that's my deal. That's who my expectation is, because I want to see how when he pretty much has the field to himself at the moment, how does he answer the call?
Yeah.
If you want to solidify yourself as the MVP for this year, because remember, and people keep forgetting, Shannon Sharp, to his credit, talked about it twice this week, but I keep going back. Patrick was leading the league in the MVP in the year that they were running back. They were 14-1,
Yep.
and he had a so-so game. I was here. This was COVID year. He had a so-so game against the Atlanta Falcons, where they barely won, and he might have had a couple of interceptions that game. Not Brett Favre, keep saying Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers had a 4 touchdown game that game, and then the next week, because they were 14-1,
Yeah.
he didn't play at all. Aaron Rodgers had another 4 touchdown game, so he threw for 8 touchdowns, zero interceptions,
Yeah.
and they had the number one seed in the NFC. He comes from behind, wins the MVP. Patrick was number 3. So,
I'm,
that's why I tell people, playing matters, stats matters, and when you win, lose, and how it looks, all that comes into play when it comes to something like this.
but people put into account like that. That
Patrick
is
is held to a
it's
higher and a different standard.
yeah.
I will give you that, but you still can't. Patrick can't come out and throw for 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
But you got to remember though, the way that game was played, I still think he was front running even after that game. I mean, like I saw on the Monday Night Show, there's not another quarterback in the league that I've seen that is able to do those same plays.
I get it. But again, because of you were the defending Super Bowl champions. Again, he's held to a higher standard and a different. I give you that, but that's the standard that
It's
he
an
set.
MVP award. That means most
I
valuable
get
player
it, but,
to your team.
but no, well, to the league,
Or to the league, yeah.
Yeah. So, but
You see how ratings shoot out the roof?
I-
All that they got to take all that into account.
Well, don't forget they did flex him out, and they kept the Cowboys in against the Colts. So that's
Yeah.
there's a difference there as well. But what I'm saying is that in that game, he didn't have a great game. I mean, mind you now, they won that game. They were 14-1. They had clinched the conference, but he didn't look good. I mean, his style point. Look, how you said Patrick being Patrick, his style points wasn't good that game, and it was held against him. Aaron Rodgers, you know what I'm saying, was he threw 4 touchdowns in that game. The
Yeah.
next week, Patrick didn't add to his resume. Andy sat him out. Rodgers threw for 4 touchdowns.
Right.
Next thing you know, he's
I
the
mean,
MVP. So that's what I'm saying now, because you only got one playoff slot, and and you have to win out. I don't think that's an issue this time around. The only issue is how does he look in accumulating those stats.
yeah. Nah. I mean, I think the stats will come. I think he'll get them no matter what. I mean, you're right there. What do you need? How many more touchdowns?
I mean, it's not. It's to me, it's not a matter of touchdowns. It's just, I mean, you add it with the touchdowns, but you can't have turnovers.
Oh yeah. I mean, I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
to me, as long as he doesn't have like 2 or 3 interceptions over these last 3 weeks, I think he'll be fine. X
Yeah.
factor for on the defense side of football.
Um. Mm, I'm gonna think it's gonna be. I think that it'll be Nick Bolton.
Damn, that was gonna be mine.
I mean, to
But since it's not, since you took it, I'm gonna go somewhere else.
to me, I think Nick is gonna be playing with more of a chip on his shoulder. The reason why he was snubbed twice the second year from a Pro Bowl. From a Pro Bowl.
We've been working too much together because that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm saying.
So I think it's Nick Bolton. He's got a lot to prove.
I'm gonna go since you took mine, which I'm not mad. I'm gonna go with the defensive backfield
Okay.
because I mean, and again to an extent, Steve, because you have the worst defensive backfield according to ratings, stats, what have you. They give us the
Hmm.
most touchdowns to these wide receivers. How are you going to respond, especially this area, this field, frozen is like the frozen tundra right about now. It's cold. How do you and your players respond to this? You got deep now. They don't
Sun's
have
out.
Tyler. They don't have Tyler Lockett. He broke his finger, so he's out of the game. But still, but how do they defend Metcalf if Kevin Walker somehow gets past the first line of defense and then gets past Nick Bolton? What do they, how do they confront that? So for me, that's my X factor.
I like that. But man, this is why when you get those because what's the spread?
10 points.
And they haven't been covering in any of their games the past few weeks.
The last game they covered at home.
October.
No. It was the Rams game.
Okay.
They were 16. They were 14. They were 16-point favorites, and they covered it.
Okay.
15
All
and a
right.
half, something like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know,
I don't know if they cover today though. I
yeah.
think the point spread is 10. I, I don't know, man. Look, man, the Chiefs, they somehow find a way to put themselves in the ball games that they shouldn't be in.
Hmm.
It shouldn't have been a close game against Denver. It shouldn't have been a close game against Houston. Next thing you know, they're in a dogfight.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, teams are gonna get up to play Patrick Mahomes. You know that.
Yeah,
So I mean,
but they got to meet it.
he's got this team with a target on their back.
No,
And that's since 2020 when after the
2018.
yeah. So I think you got the youth movement and people want to be a part of that.
All right. Well, before we get out of Steve, what's your final score? Who wins?
What did I say Monday? Ooh, that's the thing. I'll be forgetting what score I said. I gave
Again, I am.
31-17 Chiefs.
I just love the fact, and I'm gonna harp on it. I'm gonna harp on it. Everybody gives me grief about me having the Chiefs going undefeated, but
Hmm.
every week,
That's
you,
it.
you gotta pick the Chiefs to win. But it's all good. It's
Not
all
every
good.
week. I told you 2 weeks ago before they played Denver that they're going to lose
One of those two.
One of
Okay,
the two.
so next week.
Yeah, next week is it. I will not be picking the Chiefs next week.
All right, we'll see. I've got the Chiefs winning. I think it's a close ball game. I think it's under 48 and a half. I think the over under is 48 and a half. So
Hmm.
I got the Chiefs winning
48
20.
and a half.
Yeah. I got the Chiefs winning
20.
28-20. I don't think they covered the 10 points. I think
Okay.
I actually did do the under. So I got them winning 28-20, which again in this type of weather, I mean I could trust me. I can see a scenario where Andy's pulling these boys
Natalie said 21 to 10.
21-10. Oh, okay. She got them covered. That's interesting. But before we get out of Steve, nostalgia, man. Got the holiday look going.
Yeah,
I was gonna go that route, but
shout out to my friends over at Dillard's on Arosa. Go make sure you go check them out. You still have, I think, stores closed today at 5 p.m.
ooh,
So if you're thinking about I need that last minute gift, I'm going to sit home, watch the Chiefs game, then I'm going to head out and try to do my last minute Christmas shopping. Dillard's on Arosa. They got everything you need. They even have some little trinkets in the men's department. So, you know, go take your significant other and go out there to Dillard's and get you something nice.
I do want to say thank you as always to Todd White, Todd's Clothiers, and Taylor Suits. Got me looking right for the holiday season. Of course, you can always go out to one of his two locations. They're located off of 20th and Broadway. They're also located inside the mall at Ward Parkway off of 85th and State Line. So make sure you go out there, take a look at that. He's got something for all the occasions. And also, got to talk about Gates Barbecue. How could we not? Um, Gates closed. I think Gates
Gates
closed.
normal hours today. They're closed tomorrow, but they're on normal hours today.
So you got time to go out there and go get you some Gates Barbecue.
Hmm.
Of course, 5 locations across the metro area. We want to thank them as always for being our sponsor here and throughout the season as well. Of course, if you're tailgating next week, of course, we'll be back here another 11 o'clock time that we will do our show with the pregame cheat sheet because the weather will be much, much warmer next weekend. So you'll see Steve and
Yeah.
the Sauce crew out and about tailgating. So if you're out there tailgating, thank you so much, Miss Kay. If you're out there tailgating, look for Steve and the Sauce crew. You might get you a nice little gift from them, to bring in the new year because it will be New Year's when the game is
Year's Eve.
taken. No, it'll be New Year's Day.
New Year's
Yeah,
Day.
yeah, next Sunday, New Year's
Oh,
Day.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so don't stay out too late. But if you do, be safe. Make sure you're here next week to join us. Following the game, of course, we'll bring you the postgame show. We will do it from up here. I don't know. We might take a picture outside,
Oh,
but
no.
we might take a picture outside, but that's the best we're gonna do when it comes to postgame. But follow us. We'll make sure that we get you set up postgame with Andy Reid along with Patrick Mahomes and other players. And we'll bring you postgame interviews from the locker room as well. So follow Steve Walls at Steve Walls KC. Follow me on social media at Darren Smith WHB. With Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. We'll see you after the game. This is the pregame cheat sheet.
And remember to catch us tomorrow, Monday.
Monday.
Oof. Monday. Soiree Steak and Oyster House for the red hour. Sorry, Soiree Steak and Oyster House. Myself, Darren Smith, Uncle Sean Tyler, and also DJ Q. It'll be 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Come out and talk Chiefs football.
And good luck to the Dallas Cowboys because we that's Steve's other Super Bowl pick, but we want them to beat the Philadelphia Eagles because we got to be able to mess with Q on Monday night. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week on the pregame cheat sheet live from Arrowhead Stadium.